Good morning. If you would open up your Bibles to 1 Samuel chapter 28. 1 Samuel chapter 28. Talking about using your talents. King Saul did not use his talents wisely. In fact, he did often the opposite of what he should have done. But we're going to see what's going to happen at the end of King Saul. And it came to pass in those days that the Philistines gathered their armies together for warfare, to fight with Israel. And Achish said unto David, Know thou assuredly that thou shalt go out with me to battle, thou and thy men. David's going to go fight against his own people. How is this going to work out? And David said to Achish, Surely thou shalt know what thy servant can do. And Achish said to David, Therefore will I make thee keeper of mine head forever. So David has made the bodyguard to the king. They head down into the battle and get some background here in verse 3. Now Samuel was dead, and all Israel had lamented him and buried him in Ramah, even in his own city. And Saul had put away those that had familiar spirits and the wizards out of the land, the witches and the wizards. And the Philistines gathered themselves together and came and pitched in Shunem. And Saul gathered all Israel together, and they pitched in Gilboa. When Saul saw the host of the Philistines, he was afraid, and his heart greatly trembled. And when Saul inquired of the Lord answered him not, neither by dreams, nor by the Urim, nor by the prophets. Then said Saul unto his servant, Seek me a woman that hath a familiar spirit, that I may go to her and inquire of her. Saul, what are you doing? It's like. And his servant said to him, Behold, there is a woman that hath a familiar spirit at Endor. We call this her the witch at Endor. And Saul goes to seek word about what to do from this witch. And Saul disguised himself, like that's going to work, and put on other raiment. And he went, and 2 men with him. And they came to the woman by night. And he said, I pray thee, divine unto me by the familiar spirit, and bring me him up whom I shall name unto thee. And the woman said unto him, Behold, thou knowest what Saul has done, how he has cut off those that have familiar spirits and wizards out of the land. Wherefore then thou layest a snare for my life, to cause me to die. And Saul sware to her by the Lord, saying, As the Lord liveth, there shall no punishment happen to thee for this thing. Then said the woman, Whom shall I bring up unto thee? And he said, Bring me up Samuel. And when the woman saw Samuel, she cried with a loud voice, and the woman spake to Saul, saying, Why hast thou deceived me? For thou art Saul, you're the king. You're the very one that killed all these people. And now Samuel's coming up. And the king said unto her, Be not afraid, for what sawest thou? And the woman said unto Saul, I saw gods ascending out of the earth. And he said unto her, What form is he of? And he said, An old man cometh up. He's covered with a mantle. And Saul perceived that it was Samuel. And he stooped with his face to the ground and bowed himself. And Samuel said to Saul, Why hast thou disquieted me to bring me up? And Saul answered, I am sore distressed, for the Philistines make war against me, and God has departed from me, and answereth me no more, neither by prophets nor by dreams. Therefore I have called thee, that thou mayest make known unto me what I shall do. It must be peaceful where Samuel was, because he was disturbed, when he was pulled up. All the witches and the familiar spirits and all the wizards have been killed off, and Saul finds this one and goes and meddles, disturbs the peace of Samuel, brings him up. Then said Samuel, Wherefore then doest thou ask of me, seeing the Lord has departed from thee, and has become thine enemy? The Lord hath done to him as he spoke by me. For the Lord hath rent the kingdom out of thine hand, and given it to thy neighbor, even to David. Because thou obeyest not the voice of the Lord, nor executest his fierce wrath upon Amalek, therefore hath the Lord done this thing unto thee this day. Moreover, the Lord will also deliver Israel with thee into the hand of the Philistines, and tomorrow thou and thy sons will be with me. Uh-oh. You're going to die. The Lord also shall deliver the host of Israel into the hand of the Philistines. Then Saul fell straightway all along the earth. He just passed out and was sore afraid because of the words of Samuel. And there was no strength in him, for he had eaten no bread all day, nor all night. And the woman came unto Saul and saw that he was sore troubled, and said unto him, Behold, thine handmaid has obeyed thy voice, and I have put my life in my hand, and I have hearkened unto the words which thou speakest unto me. Now therefore I pray thee, hearken thou also unto the voice of thine handmaid, and let me set a morsel of bread before thee, and eat, that thou mayest have strength when thou goest on thy way. Kind of a last meal, right? But he refused and said, I will not eat. But his servants, together with the woman, compelled him, and he hearkened unto their voice. So he arose from the earth, sat upon the bed. The woman had a fattened calf in the house, and she hastened, killed it, took flour and kneaded it, did bake unleavened bread thereof. And she brought it before Saul and before his servants, that they did eat. Then they rose up and went away in the night. Now the Philistines gathered together all their armies to Ephek, and the Israelites pitched by a fountain which was in Jezreel. And the lords of the Philistines passed on by hundreds and by thousands. But David and his men passed on in the rearward with Achish. And the princes of the Philistines said, What do these Hebrews here? Why are they here? And Achish said unto the princes of the Philistines, Is not David the servant of Saul, the king of Israel, which has been with me these days, or these years? And I have found no fault in him, since he fell unto me unto this day. So David is identified, and the Lord is really good about helping you not to sin when you fall into a situation like this. David was about to be sent into battle against his own people, but God figured a way out, didn't he? He gets identified by the other princes, and they tell him, You are not going to go to battle. And the princes of the Philistines were wroth with him, and with the princes of the Philistines said unto him, Make this fellow return, that he may go again to his place which thou hast appointed him, and let him not go with us to battle, lest in the battle he be an adversary to us. For wherewith should he reconcile himself unto his master? Should it not be with the heads of these men, the Philistines? Is not this David of whom they sang, one to another in dances, saying, Saul slew his 1,000, and David his 10,000s? Then Achish called David and said unto him, Surely, as the Lord liveth, thou hast been upright, and thy going out and thy coming in with me in the host is good in my sight. For I have not found evil in thee since the day of thy coming unto me, unto this day. Nevertheless, the Lord's favor thee not. They don't like you. Wherefore now return, go in peace, that thou displease not the lords of the Philistines. And David said unto Achish, But what have I done? And what hast thou found in thy servant so long as I have been with thee unto this day, that I may not go and fight against the enemies of my lord the king? And Achish answered and said, I know that thou art good in my sight, as an angel of God. Notwithstanding, the princes of the Philistines have said, He shall not go up with us to the battle. Wherefore now rise up early in the morning with thy master's servants that are come with thee. And as soon as ye come up early in the morning and have light, depart. So David and his men rose up early to depart in the morning to return to the land of the Philistines. And the Philistines went up to Jezreel. Now there's another reason for this, because David had no idea what was happening to his own wives, to the kids of these men. During this time they had gathered together. All the armies are lifted up and gathered together and have shifted up to Jezreel. Well, that left a vacuum, an area where the Amalekites could come in. The same Amalekites that Saul was supposed to destroy, but he didn't completely destroy them. He let them go. So in chapter 30 we see, And it came to pass when David and his men were come to Ziklag on the third day, that the Amalekites had invaded the south, and Ziklag was smitten, and smitten Ziklag, and burned it with fire. They had taken the women and children captives that were therein. They slew not any, either great or small, but carried them away and went on their way. So David and his men came to the city, and behold, it was burned with fire. Can you imagine? You come home, kind of like Lahaina, right? You come in and there's nothing left. It's all burnt. It's gone. And their wives and their sons and their daughters were taken captive. Then David and the people that were with him lifted up their voice, and they wept until they had no more power to weep. And David's 2 wives were taken captives, Ahinoam the Jezreelitess, and Abigail, the wife of Nabal the Carmelite. And David was greatly distressed, for the people spake of stoning him. Now, how could you let this happen, David? And the people were grieved, every man for his sons and for his daughters. But David encouraged himself in the Lord his God. And now this is the key to it. When everything seems like it's just wrong, it's all against you, there's one place you could find encouragement, and that's in the Lord. And he will buoy you up. He will strengthen you when all others have just about given up. And David said to Abiathar the priest, Ahimelech's son, and said, Bring me hither the ephod. And Abiathar brought the ephod to David, and David inquired at the Lord, saying, Shall I pursue after this troop? Shall I overtake them? And God answered him, said, Pursue, for thou shalt surely overtake them without fail, recover all. So David went, he and 600 men that were with him. He came to the brook Bezor, where those that were left behind stayed. So he divided up the troops. 200 stay with the stuff, 400 go out to battle. David pursued, he and 400 men, for 200 abode behind, which were so faint that they could not go over the brook Bezor. And they found an Egyptian in the field, and brought him to David, and gave him bread, and he did eat, and made him drink water. Gave him a piece of cake of figs, and 2 clusters of raisins, and when he had eaten, his spirit came again to him. For he had eaten no bread, nor drunk any water for 3 days and 3 nights. And David said unto him, To whom belongest thou? He said, Whence art thou? He said, I am a young man of Egypt. I was a slave, a servant to an Amalekite. And my master left me because 3 days agone I fell sick. We made an invasion upon the south of the Cherethites, and upon the coast which belongeth to Judah, and upon the south of Caleb, and we burned Ziklag with fire. And David said to him, Canst thou bring me down to this company? He said, Swear unto me by God, your God, this Egyptian is a believer, that thou wilt neither kill me nor deliver me into the hands of my master, and I will bring thee down to this company. Well, obviously the agreement was made, and when he was brought him down, behold, they were spread abroad all on the earth, eating and drinking and dancing, because of all the great spoil they had taken out of the land of the Philistines and out of the land of Judah. Well, the party's about to turn over, because here they come. And David smote them from twilight even unto the evening of the next day, and there escaped not a man of them, save 400 young men on camels. They dug out, and they fled. And David recovered all that the Amalekites had carried away. And David rescued his 2 wives. Yay! No stoning tonight. And there was nothing lacking to them, neither great nor small, neither sons nor daughters, nor spoil, nor anything that they had taken to them. So David recovered all. And David took all the flocks and the herds which they drave before the other cattle. So David claims the flocks and the herds. Said, This is David's spoil. And David came to the 200 men, which were so faint they could not follow David, whom they had made also to abide at the brook, with the stuff. And they went forth to meet David, and to meet the people that were with him. And when David came near to the people, he saluted them. Well, suddenly there's a big disagreement. The men that went out to fight, there were some among them that were not of the nicest sort. They said, well, these guys didn't come fight. They didn't do a thing. They didn't lift a finger. They were too tired to come out and do the right thing. And so it says, all the wicked men, the men of Belial, and all those that went with David said, because they went not with us, we will not give them aught of the spoil that we have recovered, save to every man his wife and his children, that they may lead them away and depart. But King David is wise. God gives him a clue, an opportunity. He says, Then said David, Ye shall not do so, my brethren, with that which the Lord has given us, who hath preserved us, and delivered the company that came against us into our hand. For who will hearken unto you in this matter? But as his part that goeth down to the battle, so shall his part be that tarrieth by the stuff. They shall part alike. Everybody gets equal shares. And it was so from that day forward. And he made it a statute and an ordinance for Israel unto this day. And when David came to Ziklag, he sent of the spoil to the elders of Judah, even to his friends, and said, Behold, a present for you of the spoil of the enemies of the Lord. To them which were in Bethel, and those which were in south in Ramoth, and those which were in Jatir, and to them that were in Aurora, and those which were in Siphmoth, and all them were in Eshtemoa, and to them which were in Rechal, and to them which were in the cities, and the Jerahmeelites, and to them which were in the cities of the Kenites, and to them which were in Hormah, and them which were in Chorashan, and them in Atak, and to them which were in Hebron, and those where David himself and his men were wont to hunt, they gave gifts and shared that with the people. And so there are times when you can be down, where you seem like there's no way out, that maybe you're going to be made to make a choice that you don't want to make because you know that this is the wrong thing. Pray and let God work it out. God worked it out for David. He did not have to go to battle. And guess what? He was needed to go fight another battle. A battle for the lives of their own wives and children, and wives and children and sons of his men. And they were able to go forth, but God gave them a victory over them. And they were able to bring back great gifts and share with everyone. And so don't listen to the bad people that want to tell you, oh, you just keep it all for yourselves, you know. Everyone has a part, even if that part is staying with the stuff. And so I'm going to leave it there, because once we get into this next part, it really gets dark and dire. But thank you for listening today. I pray that you get something from this. Father God, I do pray and I thank you that you have just watched over us and cared for us. I pray, Father, that you'd help us to be able to bring someone to know Jesus Christ this week, that invite them to church, help them to come to know more about their God. In Jesus Christ's name I pray. Amen.